Hello and welcome to Pat Bear's Anime Club, an ongoing video series where every other Monday I put up a new video taking a look at something from the world of anime that I want to talk about. It could be a deep dive on a particular genre or even subgenre, news of the world, reviews, previews, jokes at someone's expense, whatever I want to do in the world of anime. Well over 100 episodes. Take a look at one of them. See if there's something there. There's a whole playlist of them. The early ones, I think content-wise are great, and video recording-wise don't look as good. I was bad at using a green screen. That's just the truth. But that's not what I'm here to talk about to you about in this video. In this particular video, I am here to talk about the top 10 for 2023. That's right, my yearly tradition continues as a video looking at my favorite anime from the year 2023. Maybe it's yours, maybe it isn't. Maybe you'll see something on this list and you'll go, "Ooh, okay." Or you'll see something that isn't on this list and you'll go, "Pat, why do you hate Jujutsu Kaisen?" Which I don't. It's just it's Mappa has much to answer for. They need to fucking fix their shit. And then I swore, how long is it about going in this video? Over a minute. I think I'm okay. I didn't swear in the first minute, I think, so we should be all right. Yeah, Mappa needs to fix their shit, and then we can talk. Jujutsu Kaisen is fucking gorgeous, but also some episodes look like butt, and it is very clear that the people that are working there are being overworked and underpaid, and it's a nightmare, and the show has suffered because of that nightmare. So I can't. And then the other big one probably that is in this list that you might be surprised because I talked about it a lot is Zom 100. Zom 100 dealt with some production issues as well, although that seems to be mostly illness based. And they didn't finish. At time of this recording, episodes 10, 11, and 12 are set to air shortly after this video goes live. So they will finish, and I look forward to them finishing. And I am happy that they will be finishing. So they could theoretically end up on my year list next if those episodes do come out. Because Zom 100, hey, watch the pilot for Zom 100. I think it's fantastic. That probably should have been on this list because it's my personal list. But like I said, it didn't finish. So I didn't feel comfortable adding it. Also, having a reason to not be on this list makes me making a list, my building of a list easier. Because like, I wanted to talk about Too Cute Crisis. It's a show about aliens finding out that cats and other animals are cute and not knowing how to process that. It's a wonderful little series. It wasn't gonna. I don't know if it broke my top 15, but it definitely didn't break my top 10. Also, I should say before we get into this list, you can actually read little snippets. I don't get into too much detail about anything there. There's probably more detail actually in this video. But if you want to read along or read after or before, you can go to co-host. There is a link in the show description of this video that will be added to the show description when this video goes live. I will then add in the co-host link so you can watch the video and read it at your leisure. And let's get into this list. Let's do it. Number 10. The Magical Revolution of the Reincarnated Princess and the Genius Young Lady. It's a mouthful of a title. I picked this photo specifically so I could tell you that this is a female-led, queer-ass anime. It is based on a light novel. There is a manga adaptation that is pretty toned down with the Yuri. This is not a subtext. This is not a bait. This is not queer baiting in order to sell more copies. This is a slow burn love story set in a fantasy world. It's action focused. There's drama. It is an isekai, and that is a turnoff for some people. I understand. I will be talking about only 2 isekai on my top 10, which is probably the least amount of isekai on one of my lists. I would say I've started doing lists like this, I think in 2019 or 2020, so you can be the judge if I have put less than 2, but I can't imagine I have. And this one is fantastic. I wanted to include this on the list. Is there other otome dating game, anime out there with female leads? Yes. that came out this year, I should say. This one isn't really based on a game, but it feels kind of similar to that. That's the closest I would give it to. Um, the fact that she's reincarnated isn't the most important thing because honestly, this is a story about finding your place in the world and dealing with miscommunication and expectations that people have. And there are really cool fights, and it's silly and fun, and really well done. So that's the magical revolution of the reincarnated princess and the genius young lady. Uh, Even though it does start as an otome style thing, it doesn't really live in that world. And I think you'll like it. You might like, but this also might be too much. It's a bit too out there, I should say. Reborn is a vending machine. I now wander the dungeon. First, I get beyond the different world, isekai, someone from a world we feel like, whatever, goes to a different world through death or transportation, various means, and then has some kind of differences between those worlds and lives in that world. You also need to know that there are nerds for vending machines, and our main character, our nameless main character, loved vending machines. And he died in a vending machine related accident. And now he's a vending machine in a magical world, in a world where there aren't vending machines. And you're like, well, how could that be a good anime? And the answer is because Boxo, he's named he gets given the name Boxo, can evolve as a vending machine. He can become different kinds of vending machines. He can make a shield for himself, like a magical shield. There are people who don't understand what's going on with him, but love him and come to support, rely on him. There's hijinks. I should say there's one episode that is mildly devastating and very sad that I was not prepared for when I watched it. But for the most part, it's pretty lighthearted and pretty neat. Great supporting cast, which you would need for something like this. Only one episode beyond the one that made me really sad that I really hated. There's some introduction of some minor characters later in the story that I really did not enjoy those characters and wish they weren't in the anime. But for the most part, it fucking whips ass. I like weird isekai. I like isekai where it's a spider or it's a, a sword. Reincarnated as a sword. Like, what? I like stuff like this. And in this case, of course, vending machine. I like it. It's a strange choice, and I appreciate that choice. Slime, spider, vending machine. I've never read the onsen one, but someday I might. I don't know. Anyway, let's move on the list. Number 8. We'll get into one of our 2 romantic comedy anime. I guess you could count one of them. A third one is romantic comedy, but romantic comedy focused, I should say. And that's My Love Story with Yubata-kun at level 999. Do you ever want to watch an anime where there's a slow burn love story between 2 gamers that share a love for the same video game? Well, you're in luck because you got it. This is definitely a nice slow burn thing about a girl who is trying to get over heartbreak and is introduced to a capital G gamer, like a pro gamer, where she got into games because of her ex-boyfriend, and how both of their lives changed by this budding friendship that will probably turn into more. It's very cute. It is really from from her perspective, much more than Yamada. So you do get more diving into that aspect of it, which is interesting and great. A lot of relationship anime is from the dude's perspective that I watch anyway. I'm sure I know there are plenty of examples that are other than that, but modern romantic comedy anime seems to be focused on the guy, and this isn't, which is great. Excellent support cast, like immediately great supporting players. There is like some of the lead-ins, the incidents that get into the tropes of the romantic comedy are a little wooden, but I let that slide because the vibes are just so good. Speaking of good vibes, Spy Family Season 2. So, do I like Spy Family Season 2 more than Spy Family Season 1? No. And there's one big reason. Spy Family Season 1, in order to introduce all the characters, has to deal with a plot, a consistent plot that you see episode to episode. While there is still the big picture reason for all of them to be together, Season 2 is a lot more small stories. And I like the bigger plots and with small moments of character development rather than the just, well, I guess we'll figure out what's going on with Anya today and just kind of deal with that a little bit. And, oh, all right, well, let's go over here and see, like, oh, there's going to be some spy stuff. We'll take care of that real quick. Like, it feels like more of the same, but more of the same is still a precocious, psychic young lady, a dog that can see the future, a world-renowned assassin, and a world-renowned spy, all living together, keeping each other's secrets. And I always say this about Anya, who is some people's favorite character. I would say probably mine as well. Is that she is such a wonderfully realistic portrayal of just because you're psychic doesn't make you smart. This is an average girl with maybe an overactive imagination at best, who isn't a mastermind, where you might see her as a mastermind in other media. And I love that. It's more of the good shit. So, you know what? It can't be number 2, but it can be number 7 without any problem. If you've never gotten into Spy Family, you should watch Spy Family. It whips ass. Fucking kicks so much ass. The Ice Guy and his cool female colleague. I don't know a lot of people that have watched this, and I feel like that's a bummer, because this is another romantic comedy series featuring adults. And hey, we get a lot of high school romances, and some of those are fantastic. I've had them on my list in the past. But to have like these, yeah, they're coworkers. It's meeting each other at work, being colleagues, and then slowly developing feelings for each other, is cliche in its own way, but it's still an adult romance show, and I'm here for that. There will be other people out there talking about their top 10 anime of the year. They'll put in some high school harem romance stuff that came out this year. That's not my jam. If that's your jam, there are stuff out there. You can track that down. Take a look at some people's top 10 lists, or look at Annie chart for what ranked high in romance, and you'll find something there that maybe speaks to you more than it does to me. I was a teen, and teen into my 20s that watched Love Hina. I watched a lot of Tenchi Muyo. I think I'm done with that. But if you're not, there's stuff out there for you. You can have a boring ass milquetoast shitty main character surrounded by a bunch of ladies who are better off without him. You can find those. They're out there. This is not that. I should also say, the Ice Guy is not that he is cold demeanor, it's that he has ice powers. That's a big thing that as I got away from my rants, which won't be in the written version. That's an important thing to mention about this anime, is that there are people with powers. They inherited powers. And it's not a big deal. It is used for, isn't that funny? Someone really can't control their ice powers, like, because they're tied to emotions, and he's like getting really like, oh, he's feeling weird about what's going on here. He's nervous or whatever. And then an ice storm shows up, or a snowstorm like that. It's used for the romantic comedy, to get him in situations, to set up situations. But it's not a secret that he has to keep while also having a crush on his coworker, which is rad. It's so fun that is not the plot of it. It's like, you got to keep your secret that you have ice powers and also try to date this girl. It's like, no. We don't have to worry about that. I love that. Oshi no Ko. Okay, so Oshi no Ko is on this list, and it is probably some people's number 1 or maybe number 2, and it's not mine. And I can already feel the rage in some people, and that's okay. And I understand it. I will start with the fact that Oshi no Ko has some of my favorite moments in any show this year. It starts off incredible. The pilot, the 90-minute pilot, watch it. It makes such big swings. It has so much information to convey. It does feel like 3 different anime openings. It's kind of bonkers in all of the best ways. Oshinoko is a story in two parts. It is a series grounded in the realities of making it in the world of idols, of the song and dance and personality and doing all that and putting together a group and going on acting jobs and being on reality TV that's not reality and dealing with internet polls and hate mail and uh, people being mad at you on social media and rumors and talent and working with collaborators, but also working against your collaborators. And I've seen that all before, and I've seen stuff, in my opinion, that does it better. That's what a lot of people come to the table for Oshinoko, is all of the idol information. Should also put in here that there is a element to this anime and the manga that it's based on that is based on true events, real events that I think the anime does not handle well and is not capable of handling well, and it bums me out. And I won't get too much into it for a number of reasons, but there's some stuff in this that bums me out. I said it was in two parts. The other half of this anime is a main character who is trying to solve two murders. A young man trying to solve some murders is the other part of this anime. And that takes a back seat quite often, is in the background quite often, to this show while it deals with who's dating who and who's using who and all of that. And it's the driving force of a character, but it's not the driving force of the anime, if that makes any sense. And it's the stuff I really like. I love this psychological-ish murder investigation, what drives a man to do this, and trying to put the pieces together and trying his best to manipulate people to get what he needs. And it feels like the anime is more concerned with, can we get this idol group together? And I'm not as interested in that. So it can't be the top of my list because there are whole stretches where I'm like, yeah. But what about the murder investigation? So I can't, if I'm yada-ing elements of the story, it's not in the top 5. It's it's 5, I should say. But it's not, it's in the top 5. It's just the bottom of top 5. Scott Pilgrim Takes Off is an anime, as I have said on this channel, and I will continue to say it's on this channel. Science Saru made it. There is a Japanese voice cast alongside the English voice cast. English voice cast is the actors from the movie. But Brian Lee O'Malley wrote it, head writer on it. He's a graphic novel author. You know, he worked on the graphic novel. He worked closely with Edgar Wright on the movie. There's something happens in episode 1. If you have not watched Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, it's animated really well, as you would expect from goddamn Science Saru. They know what they're doing. The music is fantastic. Adam Managuchi comes in. They did the music for the video game. They're in it. I'm very happy for them. I'm glad they did music for an anime that whips ass. The voices that you expect come back, and it's cool as hell. I don't want to give too much away if you don't know what goes on in Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. I will say, this is not a cookie cutter, by the numbers adaptation of the graphic novel or the movie, despite having the movie voice actors, all the actors from the movie coming back to do voice, and Brian Lee O'Malley being involved. It is not a cookie cutter by the numbers, as I said, adaptation. It goes places, and that rules. And for some people, that doesn't rule. They just want an anime version of the thing that they remember, and I get that. But I think this is so much more engaging and so much more interesting. A choice gets made in episode 1 that is fundamentally unbelievably huge. And from there, it's its own cool thing that rocks, whips ass. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm due for a rewatch. Scott Pilgrim takes off. Get into it. Undead Murder Farce. Also get it. Hey, I mean, it goes without saying, these 10 anime I think you should watch. Watch Undead Murder Farce. This was not on my radar. I was not anticipating this anime coming in. Even in the previews of the season, when I was going through, I was like, Undead Murder Farce. Woman who is off, just ahead of a woman off in a bird cage, and a guy who's partially a demon turning into full demon. Nah, I'm okay. But episode 1 came out. And people who I respect a lot were like, Pat, how are you not watching Undead Murder Farce? I was like, am I supposed to be watching Undead Murder Farce? It turns out I was supposed to be watching Undead Murder Farce because it rules. You may find it as Undead Girl Murder Farce. That is what the novels are called. They just took out the girl part, which is fine. So here's the thing. A mortal woman gets her head cut off. She's just ahead in a bird cage with her maid carrying around. There's a guy. He kills Oni. He is part Oni. He will slowly and one day become a full Oni and lose all of his mind. They come together for the common goal of finding the man who is responsible for both of the things that have happened to them, because it's the same person. And they decide the best way to track this person down is to travel Europe, solving crimes as a famous detective pair with members of mostly British literature. Famous Sherlock Holmes is in this, okay? There's like the Phantom of the Opera is in here. I don't want to spoil some of the other ones. I'll say those two. There are a lot of incredibly wonderful, like obvious and not so obvious characters from fiction that, and one real dude. There's one real guy in here, a fictional version of a real guy in this delightful, action-packed, like full of humor and story and sadness. I said it's full of story, compelling story, I should say. I lost a word there. It kicks so much ass. It's so fun and so good. Undead Murder Farce is the best surprise of 2023 for me. Because my number 2, I knew I would like. Frieren Beyond Journey's End. I am so in love with this manga. It is so slow paced. They put out 4 episodes on the first day. So even though it's a 2-core, back-to-back 2-core, it will finish up by the end of this year. It is not done at time of this recording because it'll run into next year. I don't care. Frieren Beyond Journey's End is my number 2 anime of 2023. I do not need to finish it into next year to tell you that, because it's Madhouse fucking nailed it. Madhouse was, in my mind, the people to do this adaptation. There are a couple others that probably could have nailed it, but they nailed it. This gorgeous, beautiful world, this slow, wonderful story, because the Demon King has been defeated by the hero and his party, and that is not this story. But it is. That story happened a long time ago, and the hero has died. And the mage of the party, Frieren, is on a journey. She is setting off on a journey, and she is making new friends along the way, joining her, and old adversaries and new adversaries. And there's so much beauty in it. And it is the concept of, well, elves don't really keep their feet connected to the world because they outlive humans so much. They're not grounded. And what about a woman, an elf, who is trying to stay grounded and who isn't haunted by the past, but is reminded of the past? It's absolutely fantastic. The pacing is really well done. The characters are fully baked, and even if they could seem one note, they have dimension to them. There's a little bit of romance in there, which is really fun, and every element of it comes together. It's silly in ways that are unexpected. And there's, yeah, like I said, fully formed characters. I can't wait. There's so much manga that I forgot about a couple things, and when they showed up in the anime, I was like, oh yeah. So it's a pleasant surprise for me. You don't need to have read the manga, although you should, to get it. Frieren Beyond Journey's End is a treat, and that's why it's my number 2. And I only leaves one more, and I think you probably know what it is, based on who I am and what I like. It's Mobile Suit Gundam The Witch from Mercury. And you're like, Pat, that was your number 1 in 2022. And that's right, because this is a two core, so 2 parts, part 1 and part 2 of the seasons. Some people say season 1 and 2, whatever. I'm not going to get into semantics about that. That's not what this is for. Part 1 came out in 2022 and was my anime of the year. Part 2 came out in 2023 and is my anime of the year. This was the one that someone had to take over. Frieren got close, but it was always going to be Mobile Suit Gundam The Witch from Mercury, because it's a Gundam series I can recommend to people that want to get into mecha anime, because it's approachable. The things that some people hated about how it was set in a school and had a young lady as the main character, and it seemed queer as hell. But maybe that's queer baiting, but maybe that's not queer baiting. And all of them, and the fights are great, and the music is great, but it's not but there's so much of this other stuff I don't care about. All that other stuff breathes life into this world. And yes, corporations are the new governments is a little obvious and a little on the nose, but also that's what Gundam is. Every Gundam series, just about. Every Gundam series that is not about how cool Gundam series are, like the Build series, those kind of shows, any main Gundam series that is not a love letter to Gunpla is a cautionary tale about how the coolest shit in the world is also the worst shit possible. Gundams are cool. Mobile suits are awesome. We shouldn't be making them. It's a revenge story, but it's not our main character's revenge story. Suletta and Mjolnir, slow build love is wonderful. I'm not going to tell you the ending because I'm not that guy in this kind of format. You can watch it, please. But I will say, this is not a queer baiting show. And the ending is not, the epilogue is not ambiguous. Despite what Bandai likes to say, Sunrise was leaving it up for interpretation, which is a unnecessary nonsense, like, call out of themselves. Like, what are you talking about? Who cares? It's gorgeous and wonderful. It's a unbelievably fantastic from beginning to end. There's heartbreak and there's gut-wrenching moments, but they're not as many as you would think there would be. It doesn't reach Iron-Blooded Orphans level of big sad, but it is capital B, capital S, big sad at parts. And gorgeous, and the mobile suits kick ass. Hey, maybe you would have thought that it would be number 1 because I got Mjolnir and Suletta and slightly off camera that you can't see, unfortunately, the Calibarn. Top to bottom. Unbelievable. My favorite show of 2023 is Mobile Suit Gundam The Witch from Mercury. It had to be. There was no real competition. And that's my top 10 list for the year 2023. In the comments below, what did you think you thought maybe would be on my list? What do you think Bullbuster would have made it out there? Or did you think that it would be Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 that I would put on that list? Like, what's missing from my list that you thought I would put on there? And then what's on your list? What's your favorite anime of the year? Let me know. I'd love to hear from it. Because there are some stuff that I just didn't watch. And there are some things that I haven't gotten to yet. It's on my backlog list of to get to that I will probably watch when this season kind of wraps up and there isn't a lot of anime coming out before the next season. There'll be some time for me to catch up on some things, and I probably will. I want to hear from you about, like, yeah, what's your favorite? If you have any ideas for future videos, please leave that too. Read my co-host list if you'd like. It's the same thing here. It's just that my thoughts are more organized because I'm off the cuff in these videos. Thank you for watching Pat Baer's Anime Club. I can't believe I'm done over 100 of these that happened this year. That's wild. My next episode will be Pat Baer's Anime Club episode 112. Oh, that's this episode. Sorry. Do I have that? Here it is. Pat Baer's Anime Club episode 113, fall wrap-up / winter preview. That's going to be recorded live, and you should check that episode out. What day is that coming live? I'm going to look that up right now. My apologies. That's Tuesday, December 26th. Tuesday, December 26th, and then it'll go live on YouTube the following Monday. So you want to be there and chat as I wrap up the shows, some of which we talked about tonight, and I preview the shows coming out next year. I would love to have you there. Thank you so much for watching this video that is over a half hour. Let me see. Yes, it's over a half hour, which is a long one. I got to get this processed so it can get uploaded. And thank you very much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed the anime in 2023. I hope you enjoy anime in 2024. And I hope you keep watching these videos. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.